Peace and love, soul family. No, I won't start it like that. But welcome, everyone. This is the inaugural season of Intellectually Honest, and I'm your host. I'm not sure if I want to give my name out, government or, play neighborhood name, because I want this to be a safe space for everyone. I don't want for you to, feel like if you make a comment, someone is going to go find your name and report it to your boss, and now everyone knows that you're a Trump supporter or that you support Joe Biden if you're working in a conservative area. I just want to create a platform because the mainstream media, they are controlled and they are told what to do. They have a biased agenda. That's all of them. That's CNN, MSNBC, Fox, RT, Bloomberg, whichever one you want to name. Even if you get into the newspapers with WAPO, Washington Post, and New York Times, and New York Post, and all these, Miami Herald, everything has an agenda to it. And you really can't be mad at it because at the end of the day, we live in a capitalist system of economics. And, you want to sell. You want to make money. And if you have a niche audience that's buying your shit, if I'm selling dope on the block and, it does me no good if I got a bunch of crackheads in my neighborhood and I'm the only niggas with vitamin D. You know what I'm saying? They ain't gonna come to me for vitamin D. They gonna go to where the crack at. So sometimes you gotta supply the crack. You gotta supply what the person is buying in your region. So I understand it. I understand it as an entrepreneur. I understand it as somebody. That's my son, by the way, Majesty. He's dope. He's very smart. Yeah, you want to say something? Hold on, he wants to just say hey to y'all real quick. Yeah, that's Majesty, people. He's probably going to be our president or something one day. So in the future, when he's doing this campaign, I give my permission for y'all to use this clip. So as I was saying, excuse me, I understand why they do what they do, but unfortunately, some people don't. Some people don't understand, why would Fox News only talk about this? Or why would CNN only talk about this? Or, whatever. It's because they have a niche audience that they're trying to sell their shit to. So me being an entrepreneur, I understood, really, if I wanted to have a platform where I can go and learn from other people, where I can go and hear perspectives of other people and not have them judge or them judge me, I'm going to have to create that platform. So this is where we are. Intellectually Honest. We're going to come on here at least once a week, and we're just going to chop it up, man. And first season, probably going to do 10 to 12 episodes and pick back up in August when, the election stuff gets hot and heavy. Kind of just introduce y'all right now, but this is going to be your place. When you want a fact, when a headline hits and you want to hear a perspective that's not going to be leaning towards the left or the right, I'm all the way in the center with everything. I'm left brain, I'm practical. Everything I talk about has to make sense to me. I believe in universal truth. Today's episode is called Boycott Please. And this is, and I'm pretty sure y'all saw the meme that T.I. posted, or the hashtag, or what we're going to start calling coon tags. And make sure you give me my credit for that. The coon tag of Blackout 2020. So coon, for some of y'all who aren't, familiar with the Southern, slang and all that. So coons are, it's a nickname for a person who is kind of proud to be an ignorant black, right? Like a Sambo. Y'all remember those old school pictures, the big lip nigga that was, shucking and jiving and making all the masses and the whites happy. That's a coon. Coons are gonna do what coons do. Coons gonna coon. You really can't do nothing about a coon. You can't ask a rat to be a cat. So, when you're running across a coon, you shouldn't even be mad at the coon. You should just understand and recognize they're a coon and act accordingly after that. But so T.I., and I call him T.I. Coon. I grew up on T.I., Dope Boys in the Trap and all that. It's just, maybe he needs to hear this information. Y'all tag Clifford on this. He posted something called Blackout 2020. And I'll lay this out. It's saying on July 7th, What they want us to do, black people and people of color, whatever that means, they want us to come together on one day and not spend any money. And their theory is we, as a collective, us, Native Americans, Asian Americans, and whatever else you got to do to be considered a person of color. I guess that means everybody but a white person is a person of color. So the people of color, we have a collective stronghold on the economy, which is a fact. And they don't want us to spend money for that one day. And that's going to somehow cause some sort of change in America. So let me burst the bubble. Okay. The economy doesn't work like that. You know that old commercial on Geico when the lady was like, I wanted to post pictures on my wall. So her silly ass put all the pictures on the wall and saying, this is me posted on social media. And the other old lady said, no, this is not how this works. You know, this is the same concept. So let me break down the U.S. economy for you. We have a thing called a GDP. It's the gross domestic product. It's basically all the money that is made in the United States. They put a number on that, and that shows the wealth generation power of a nation. Of course, America, number one GDP. So let me break it down a little further to how corporations work. Corporations, they report their finances quarterly. So what that means is it's 12 months in a year. A quarter would be 3. So we have 4 quarters in a year. So when they report quarterly, they're not breaking shit down by the day. Even in those quarterly reports, it's usually a weekly breakdown of what happened. Like, yo, it trend up here. It's kind of like a bubble thing. If you play into the stock market, you'll know what I'm talking about. Stocks, it can break things down in a day, but when you're looking at stocks, unless you're day trading, then, you know, me and my wife, we day trade. So we look day by day like, yo, what this stock doing? Like, if it's going up, if we're up 20%, let's cash out, take that money, go buy something else. But with a corporation, they're really looking at it by the week. And since they're looking at it by the week, let's just say July 7th is on the Monday, my guy. If you don't buy nothing on the Monday, but then your coon ass go out there and buy the shit on a Tuesday, what did that whole thing that you called a boycott really just do for you? Because remember, they're reporting quarterly. So they're reporting in 3-month increments. So that $200 that you was going to spend anyway is still going to be rolled up into their quarterly report. So essentially what you've just done is wasted everyone's time by coming together. And that comes to my theory on this whole thing is I really think that this is a CIA-ran misinformation campaign. And for those who are not familiar with the way the CIA and the government does stuff, so they had this, one of their most famous misinformation campaigns, was COINTELPRO. You know, I would rather you leave this video now and go do research on COINTELPRO and come back. Because when you come back, if you're not familiar with that and you listen to this, it will make so much more sense. But I'll break it down briefly. So COINTELPRO was something that was ran by Edgar Hoover's FBI and the CIA. They were in conjunction together. And it was a misinformation campaign designed to break down any kind of black extremists, as they call them. And they wanted to prevent the creation of a black messiah, because they understand if black people in America would start to get a little sense, they fear the most. I mean, they fear that more than this COVID shit right now. They fear that more than any Al-Qaeda, ISIS, insert new terrorist group, same terrorist group, but different name here. That's what they fear the most. Black people uniting and having some sense. So they will do anything to damp that down. And COINTELPRO, you can do a Release of Information Act right now, a FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, and get information on COINTELPRO right now. You can request that right now. And what it will show you, you'll see that they infiltrated the Black Panthers, the Fruit of Islam, Nation of Islam. They had coon agents go inside of there and just start trouble. Our good brother Fred Hampton, one of the leaders of the Black Panther Party, founders of the Black Panther Party, was murdered due to the COINTELPRO. They drugged this man in his bed, and while he was asleep, police came in there in plain civilian clothes and shot him the fuck up. And it was all because Coons set up and they drugged him while he was going to bed. And this is how serious this thing is. Yeah, and yes, it is. This is on record. You can look at it right now, COINTELPRO. Do your FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, and you'll see that I'm not telling you not one single lie right now. So you're asking, well, why would the CIA create a hashtag called Blackout 2020? What would they get from that? This is what bad can actually come from black people just uniting one day with all these other, I guess, non-whites. I guess that's what people of color mean, non-white. Uniting with these non-whites and just having a day of solidarity. Well, here's the problem. I have a 17-year-old daughter, right? She's about to get out into the world. She's officially a senior. I'm recording this in the summer of 2020. If my daughter was to see this on TikTok or Snapchat or whatever social media platform she's on, and, you know, her friends were getting hype about it, and let's just say they wanted to participate in this not spending money in one day thing, this is going to cause more harm than good, and I'll tell you why. Because my daughter will participate in this. She will be motivated by this. She will think this is going to cause change, and it is going to break her heart when she see that she wasted all that time doing some boycott shit that had no change. And why did she waste her time? Rewind this thing about 2.5 minutes back. Because the U.S. economy will never, ever be affected by a one-day economic protest. Just won't happen. Now, you can, let me back up. I'm talking about on a national scale. If you locally want to go to Sun Yun Poo's nail shop and shut that bitch down for a week, Sun Yun Poo may not be able to pay their rent for that for the next month. So that can affect change, but that still has to be at least a week of Sun Yun Poo not getting no money. You see what I'm saying? Nothing happens within a day. So my daughter is going to have the mindset, it's going to manifest that, why even bother with this boycott shit? Why even bother trying to fight for my rights? Why even bother trying to affect change? Because even if everybody does it, it's not going to affect change. But here's the kicker. Everyone is not going to do this. And now she's going to develop in her mind, well, I'm not ever going to do anything because everybody ain't going to participate in it anyway, which is also a fallacy. Where do we know this? Let's go to the Montgomery bus boycott. What do you guys know about the Montgomery bus boycott? I know it was taught in school. I know the general thing is Rosa Parks, she didn't want to get up. She went to jail. Black folks came together. White people lost. It's like a Disney movie, right? Like the bad guy lost in the end. That's not the Montgomery bus boycott. This is coming from, and I'm not just speaking because I come from Montgomery, Alabama, but this is through research and study. So with the Montgomery bus boycott, the reason why it was effective, and I'm going to do the bottom line up front, BLUF. BLUF, bottom line up front. The Montgomery bus boycott was effective because it was a tenured boycott that lasted for over 1 year. I will repeat, it was a tenured boycott that lasted for over 1 year, and not everyone participated in the boycott in order for it to work. Because since the beginning of the United States of America, you're always going to have a coon class. You're always going to have a person who's afraid of change, who don't want to stir massa up, who don't want to piss massa off and make it bad for other blacks. You're always going to have that coon class. So the day before the bus boycott, volunteers went around house to house dropping off leaflets. This is before social media now. Dropping off leaflets saying, yo, don't ride the bus tomorrow. We boycotting until they get this shit right. And I also want to throw in there, I can't remember the queen name, did the same thing Rosa Parks did way before Rosa Parks did it. But we didn't rally behind her. So she put the nuts on men and women alike to go out and do what they needed to do as far as protests. I'm not getting up out my damn seat, I'm tired. So that didn't generate with Rosa Parks. If I got some young people listening, did not generate with Rosa Parks. In the comments, maybe I'll throw in her name, but can't remember her name. But she was another young woman from Montgomery, Alabama, and she does not get the praise we deserve. We should change that. my generation, we should change that. So let me go back to the boycott. Not every black person participated. When it first started, you may have had maybe 60 to 70% of participation. Now, see, I got my wife's in here, my son, and she just gave me this young lady name, Claudette Colvin. Let's remember her name, Claudette Colvin, at the age of 15, refused to give her seat up to a white woman. On a crowded bus, a 15-year-old saying, bring the smoke, I ain't getting up. What we gonna do about it? You know what I'm saying? So we have it to where we don't have everyone participating in it. But that's the lie that the CIA is trying to give you about Blackout 2020. Because if you go look at the meme, it's saying, yo, we need Native Americans, like I said, people of color. So I guess everybody but white folks. We need everybody but white folks to do this in order for it to work. But that is not true. When the boycott started, everyone did not participate. And as it went longer, more and more people stopped participating. When it first started, it was good. You had pastors, you had people, affluent people in the community who had automobiles, the Cadillacs, the Lincolns and all that. They would get together, they were chartering vans, chartering buses, and they were taking people to work. They was like, yo, if you going over here, meet us over here, we're gonna drive you there. The police broke that up. The police broke it up. They started intimidating people, and less people started volunteering for the carpools, right? So some black people was like, yo, I'm walking. And they walked to the destination. They walked to where they wanted to go still. But it was just enough black people to not participate in riding on those buses for a year plus, to get them to activate that change. So boycott, please. This whole Blackout 2020 thing, you need to turn it on its head. You need to let people know, do not follow this. But if we are going to follow this, let's go from a day to a month. Let's go from a month to half a year, so on, so forth, until whatever you want changes. I'm recording this in the summer of 2020. We got this whole thing called COVID-19, a form of the coronavirus. It only took this thing 2 weeks to shut down some companies. I'm talking about 2 weeks. It only took it a couple of weeks to shut down businesses, to shut down entire local economies across the country to where they cannot open their doors again because the startup cost to open the door is just going to be too astronomical. And this is 2 weeks. Imagine what you can do collectively. And I'll put this out here right now. A lot of people call me a racist, and I'm not sure if I can say that I'm not. But I don't say this in a racist undertone. No, I'm not saying this as a bigot. But I don't believe in a people of color. I don't believe in a minority. I'll get into another episode, Slavery is a Choice. Check that out. We're going to talk about them. We're going to break down all these code words that these white people who have a thought of supremacy, because I don't want to call the tongue is a powerful thing. If you say someone is a white supremacist, that's practicing white supremacy because you are saying that they are supreme over you already. So from here on out, try to call them so-called white supremacy. Brother Malcolm did that very well when he said the so-called Negro, because he didn't want to be called a Negro. The so-called white man, because his skin is not white. His skin got, guess what? Color, because he has a light tone of, guess what? Melanin. So when people say that people of color, I'm just assuming they're just trying to say not white people, even though white people have color, whatever. So I don't prescribe into the people of color. I don't prescribe into the minority thing. When I speak, I'm speaking for black people. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'll be upfront with you right now, and this is my opinion portion, so I can do this. I'm gonna close it out. I'm kind of running over time. I am completely on the side of segregation until we can integrate. I'll say that again. I'm completely on the side of segregation until we are able to integrate. Because if you have two broken classes, let's say you have a person, let's say the social class was all determined by height. This is the best visual I can give you in my head right now. Let's say that the so-called white supremacists think they are 7 feet tall. and they believe that the black man is 5 feet tall. If we integrate, then that white person is still going to believe that he's 7 feet tall and that the black man is 5 feet tall. But if we practice segregation and we got that white man to understand, yo, we 7'8", we 9'11", we 12'2", or whatever the fuck you want to say. When we integrate at that point, he will no longer look below and look as if we are below him, but he will look at us at the stature that we are supposed to be looked at, which is either eye to eye or higher. You see what I'm saying? You can't have integration with people who have a mentality of superiority, because then you're just making it worse for yourself. Now you are inside the house of the motherfucker who thinks he's better than you. Sounds familiar, black people? Segregation for me is the best thing. We get our ducks in a row. We become self-sufficient. When they understand, like, yo, these motherfuckers don't need us for none. And matter of fact, we need them for this. Yo, that money talks, baby. When they realize that, then that's when we can come and integrate and do all that silly integration shit that y'all want to do all the time. But for me right now, in my lifetime, I don't see that happening to where we are on the same stature. So I believe segregation is the best concept. But boycott, please. Do not follow that Blackout 2020 thing. Yeah, man. But that's it for today. That's all for Intellectually Honest for this week. Tune in next week. We're going to have more material. Episodes are going to be dropping every week for this first season. So I look forward to your participation in the comments. Look forward to your participation in the email. If you ever want to be a guest of the show, you can just send us a message in the email. It's right there in the, I don't know what you call that on here on YouTube, but in the description box. There you go. I'm new to this, man. Y'all bear with me. Just want to bring this platform for those of us who are sick and tired of the spin, those of us who want to have an avenue where we can come and talk about solutions, talk about real talk, and as always, keep it intellectually honest. Y'all like how I did that, right?